Hey everybody, welcome back to Talking BaD. Today I have Shaun Sanders once again. Thank you for coming back.
My pleasure.
It means we don't suck too much.
No, you guys are fun. Like, this is a great class.
Thank you. Shaun is a very interesting individual. He is a managing partner at VentureCraft. He is an adjunct professor at the USC Gold School of Law.
Yep.
And he's overall a creator, a marketer, an entrepreneur, and an ambitious individual. As these are all really great qualities, a fun little question here. I'm wondering what is most important for our audience to know about you. This doesn't have to be a accomplishment or a job title. It's just something that you think is really important to note about yourself as an individual.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, who's my audience? Who's the audience?
Your audience is anybody who's watching this video.
Oh, that makes sense because you guys have a good. That's right. I've seen the videos posted. What to know about me? I think the best thing to know about me is I am a curious individual who's willing to take risks and has access to technology. Yeah. And those three things have led to my career so far.
Yeah. So if you guys didn't know today, Shaun was in our class once again, viewing the pitch decks that our students and just
they did a great
participants in our program put together. And one of the things you mentioned is how you got to where you are today is curiosity. When you were giving your kind of like description of who you are as a person, at first I was kind of like, whoa, like that's a lot. But then I relate because I'm like, I'm all over the place too. And it's a struggle when trying to focus on so many things at once while also providing quality to everything you do. And I'm wondering, in your life with all these different paths you've taken, how do you focus in on each of these while providing quality work and while staying passionate and driven?
So at the end of the day, I pride my reputation very, very highly. So I want to make sure that as curious as I get about new types of technology, as different things that I try, it doesn't eat into like the time of the deliverables of things like for my clients or for the things I'm actually going to be judged on. So as much as I'm having fun playing with all different types of tech and doing different things, I don't do it to the point where I distract from the core things that keep me and my business or my brand or my reputation going.
What are those core things?
So for me right now, it is maintaining my clients and their deliverables. Okay. So helping to run, I work with an amazing group called Octane Launchpad. Okay. So there I help to run their accelerator. I serve as the senior associate director, and that is a high priority. So all the things that I want to do, like if a new VR headset comes out and I want to play with it and figure out how this is going to work in my marketing, but I have a bunch of stuff I need to do for that client, then obviously it has to wait. But it's also very motivating to help me get through, working on my client deliverables so that I can go play with new tech. Yeah. But an example of that is if it just goes on LinkedIn, people might semi know me for it, but I do a lot of like weird videos with a 360 camera.
Okay.
I love it. I got it as a purely like, this is a fun gadget. Yeah. And it's turned into a weird networking thing because I go to events and then I record video, and then I've had people that run those events then reach out and be like, anyway, so it's a networking tool. Yeah. It started off as just a curious, like, hey, I want to play with this new tech. And now it's become a decent lead generation for my day to day.
I love like this emphasis on curiosity. I heard you say something when you were talking to us, how like a side hustle can become a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Or like putting yourself out there. It's like chance. You just never know, but it's worth it. It's worth asking.
Yep.
And you also are mentioning your clients. Of course, it would make sense. In the startup world, our clients are one of the most important things. And I think a struggle for young entrepreneurs, people having startups, is finding clients in these early stages. Yep. I think they focus on like just that one business that they're starting and finding clients when there's a bunch of different avenues they can go into that will maybe get them there. And I'm wondering what like the key, if there is a main thing that can get you there, or if it's different for everyone, and what your advice is on that, finding clients.
So Great questions. So the first thing I would say is I think most people are curious. I think there are millions of people in the country who like want to learn how to dance but don't learn how to dance, or want to do stand-up comedy but are too afraid to go to stand-up comedy, or want to like try a new business. But I feel like most people are curious, but most people are also afraid of risk or failure. A lot of people have a fear of like, I don't want to try to do something because if it doesn't end up like I hope it does, if the end result is like a failure, I can't handle that. And so this fear of failure is what keeps most people from like just trying things. I don't want to say I don't have that. I am obviously like in the back of my head, I don't want to fail, and I do everything I can to mitigate it.
Well, who wants
and
to
I
fail?
failed a lot, but it happens. Like it happens, and it's never stopped me from like trying the next thing. So the first thing is like when you, first main thing, I guess, for entrepreneurs trying to find clients or anything is just be willing to try.
Yeah.
A lot of your competition will never compete with you just because they don't try. And so just by doing that, just by being the one to just roll dice and see what happens, that can be all it takes to find a client or to get your foot in the door or see what the next step is. I
feel like it's never going to be that perfect path that we imagine for ourselves. And I think when having this fear of failure, so my grandpa's an entrepreneur, and I bring this up to everybody, because he said this once to me and it stuck with me. He brings up this this phenomenon of analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when he told me about that, I was like, wow, I resonate with that so deeply, because it's like we think about everything we want to do and then we just sit there and think about it some more. Yeah. Well, how am I going to do this? And what if I fail? And what does this look like? And do I have enough money for this? And like, am I even like able or capable of accomplishing what's in my mind? And then we just sit there and we think, and eventually it never happens. Yep. And I think that fear has a lot to do with that. How do you get past that stage of planning and thinking and just taking that action?
So you don't necessarily always get past it. You know how to react to it. Because like I'll still again, ask my wife how long it takes me to like buy a new appliance in the house. I got to create a spreadsheet first, and I got to read 1,000 reviews, and now I got to ask like ChatGPT.
Okay, so it seems like you know what I'm exactly. About.
So analysis paralysis always presents itself in different ways. Yeah. For me, again, it's going to be like the gadget I buy. But then for like business, I've gotten quicker at my ability to assess a risk. Like a lot of times you don't know how far the gap's going to be, and you have to jump to make it. And you hope you're going to make it. So you know that there's this gap coming up. You're trying to prepare as best you can. And then you just jump and hope that you make it to the other side. Yeah. At this point in my career, I can calculate that risk a bit quicker and then not be, paralyzed by trying to process it in my head, being like, oh, what are the different options? How might this happen? But earlier in my career, it did take longer. So I had that analysis paralysis. And then some people just never get out of that paralysis. Some people are just too afraid to do it. And I think it's important to note that it's not always bad to have it, because there's, in the entrepreneurship world, there's a lot of survivorship bias. There's a lot of people, like you'll hear people on Shark Tank or something that talk about how they like maxed out all their credit cards and they did all this, but then it worked and now they're like millionaires. Good for them. But there's a lot of people that did that and they're still trying to pay off the debt, or like they've ruined their life in debt trying to. And so taking a moment to pause and think through is always a good thing. Yeah. It's just being able to weigh out like what is the worst case.
I also think in the entrepreneurship world, all we really hear about is those success stories. Like, I didn't have a degree, or I maxed out my credit cards and now I'm a billionaire. And we just sit there like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, how is that even attainable? And these struggles and these like failure stories are what are so uncomfortable to address, but like it's necessary.
100%.
Because we all go through it. Yep. And so with that amazing advice, I mean, today you gave some great feedback on the pitches.
Good pitches.
Yeah, right? Like,
I'm
I
really
was
impressed
too. Yeah. I'm just wondering, for anybody with a pitch deck out there, a presenter, what would the few key points that maybe reoccurred in today's presentations, do you want to note those for us?
Okay. Yeah. So if you're trying to pitch an idea, and first, whenever you're going to do a pitch, whenever you're going to do a presentation, the first question, like I asked you today, who's the audience? Because your messaging, the purpose of a pitch is to resonate with your audience, to say something that they hear that stirs some sort of response from them. And you got to know, like, what do they want? For a startup pitch, you're talking to investors, you're talking to critically minded business people. And so the things that you got to hit on are your clear problem. You got to know, like, what are you actually solving? A lot of us have ideas of random things we do, but not everything we do solves an actual problem, like something that someone would be willing to pay to solve. And so being able to communicate, like, why is this a problem? Can you quantify it? Can you put a number to it? Are people dying because of it? Or is money being wasted? Like, really helping the audience feel the pain. And then how are you going to solve it? Being very clear. Sometimes people just gloss over. They identify a pain and then they jump to, like, give me money to solve it. It's like, but how are you going to solve it?
Exactly.
Knowing your market is really big. It's one of the most important things because it's easy to sell something to one person. It's hard to sell something to 1,000 people, to 1,000,000 people. And so being able to show me that the numbers scale out really work. And then beyond that, like, as long as you can hit on, like, the core of what do you do, why does it matter, and why do you believe people will pay you for it, it gets flexible after that. Like, it depends on how much time do you have. It depends on, what round you're in. Is this like the first meeting? Is it the second meeting? But the biggest thing I spend my time with my clients is clarifying a problem and a solution. A lot of times they'll have all the other information done, but they don't actually know what it is they do and why it matters in a way that makes sense to others.
It seems like when you're presenting this idea, what makes it valuable is, like, how are you going to make people's lives easier?
Or just improved or even fun. There's some entrepreneurs that have made a lot of money just by making things cheaper. So they didn't really solve a problem. I met the guy, I did a seminar where he spoke. He was another speaker there. He created those little lollipops that spin. Like, have you ever been at the cashier counter and, like, you go and there's, like, lollipops on a little motor? It doesn't solve a problem. It doesn't solve a pain. But what he did is he did a bunch of research to find that if he could get that priced at, like, $3, parents would buy it for their kid on the way out. But the cost at the time to do the motors and everything was like $280. And he just worked out the economics to get it down to, like, $1 to make. And he's made like $1 billion. So it can make people's life easier, or it can just, like, there's different ways to make it a success. It comes down to the numbers. It comes down to the mission. There's a lot of ways to get there, but mostly it has to be an entrepreneur that's passionate to actually solve it, I would say.
That passion makes a difference. Yeah. When you can tell it's there, that's what makes you want to invest, I feel.
Investors are always looking for a reason to talk themselves out of investing.
Yeah.
And if you're not excited about what you're doing, then they're not going to get excited.
Exactly.
And so it goes a long way to have that passion and clarity.
Well, Shaun, thank you for being
pleasure.
here with us again today.
Yeah.
This was really insightful, really great to talk to you about it. Thank you for being so generous with your time.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And your amazing personality. We love having you.
Oh,
But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. As you know, as I mention every time, if you're listening on Spotify, but you want to see our faces, which you probably would, you should go watch on YouTube because we have a great setup over here. Vice versa, if you want to drive and be safe, go listen on Spotify. We are HBHS Design on Instagram and our website. Go check it out. It's pretty cool. And we will see you next time. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.